Photographs have the unique ability to capture moments in time, freezing them forever for us to revisit and reflect upon. They can tell stories, evoke emotions, and sometimes reveal details that escape the naked eye. Yet, every so often, a photograph emerges that defies all rational explanation, leaving us with more questions than answers. The images we will look at today promise to go beyond the ordinary, venturing into the realm of the uncanny. From eerie apparitions to unsettling discoveries that challenge our understanding of reality, these photographs continue to baffle experts and skeptics alike. What is it about these images that makes them so perplexing? Are they glimpses into another dimension, evidence of the supernatural, or just clever hoaxes? As we discover the stories behind each moment, frozen in time, you'll be drawn into a world where the lines between reality and the unknown blur. So, sit back, relax, and prepare to be intrigued by the unexplained as we present episode 79 on Fireside Unsolved, 5 mysterious photographs that cannot be explained. On June 15, 1989, an alarming discovery was made in the quiet town of Port St. Joe, Florida. A Polaroid photo, depicting an unidentified young woman and a boy, both gagged with black duct tape and bound, was found in the parking lot of a local convenience store. The woman who found the photo recalled that it was lying in a parking space where a white, windowless Toyota cargo van had been parked when she arrived. She described the driver as a man in his 30s with a mustache. Despite immediate police action, including roadblocks to intercept the vehicle, the man in the van vanished without a trace. According to Polaroid officials, the photograph had to have been taken after May 1989, as the specific type of film used was not available until then. In July 1989, the haunting Polaroid photo was broadcast to the public on the TV show A Current Affair. The image caught the attention of family friends of Tara Lee Calico, a missing woman, who thought the young woman in the picture bore a striking resemblance to Tara. They immediately contacted Tara's mother, Patty Dole. Patty met with investigators and closely examined the Polaroid. Considering time, growth, and lack of makeup, she became convinced that the woman in the photo was her daughter. One detail that stood out to Patty was a scar on the woman's leg, identical to one Tara had from a car accident. Adding to the eerie connection, a paperback copy of V.C. Andrews' My Sweet Audrina, one of Tara's favorite books, was visible next to the woman in the photograph. This further deepened the suspicion that the girl in the Polaroid might indeed be Tara Calico. The Polaroid's mysterious story continued as the boy in the photo was also tentatively identified. A family from New Mexico came forward, believing the boy resembled their missing son, 9-year-old Michael Henley. Michael had vanished in April 1988 while on a hunting trip with his father. In an interview with the New York Times, Michael's mother, Marty Henley, expressed her mixed emotions. "He looks scared, real scared, but he looks healthy, and I'm grateful for that." She was almost certain the boy in the Polaroid was her son. However, the identification of Michael Henley as the boy in the photograph was deemed highly unlikely. Then, in June 1990, Michael's remains were discovered approximately 7 miles from the campsite where he disappeared, and 75 miles from where Tara Calico vanished. Investigators believe Michael had wandered off and tragically succumbed to the elements. Further investigative scrutiny cast doubt on the nature of the Polaroid photo. Valencia Lieutenant Joseph Rowland, the lead investigator on the case, noted several inconsistencies. He pointed out that the young woman's hands didn't appear to be tightly bound, and her shoulders lacked the tension that severe bindings would cause. Rowland observed that there was no redness around the tape on the mouths of the children, which would indicate that the tape was not on their mouths for an extended period of time. Despite extensive efforts, neither the boy nor the girl in the photograph has ever been positively identified. The photo was analyzed by several agencies with conflicting results. Scotland Yard concluded that the woman was indeed Tara Calico, but a second analysis by the Los Alamos National Laboratory disagreed. An FBI analysis of the photo was inconclusive. This unresolved mystery continues to haunt investigators and the families involved, leaving more questions than answers. The Hessdalen lights are an unexplained phenomenon that has intrigued observers since the 1930s. These unidentified lights appear intermittently along a 7.5-mile stretch of the Hessdalen Valley in rural central Norway. The Hessdalen lights are a captivating phenomenon, visible both day and night. Typically bright white, yellow, or red, these lights can appear above and below the horizon. Their duration ranges from a few seconds to well over an hour. At times, the lights move with incredible speed. At other moments, they sway gently back and forth. Occasionally, they hover motionless in midair, adding to the mystery and allure of this mysterious phenomenon. The lights reached peak activity between December 1981 and mid-1984, when they were observed 15 to 20 times per week, drawing numerous overnight tourists to the valley. One theory suggests that the phenomenon might be due to an incompletely understood combustion of airborne dust from local mining activities. This analysis identified the presence of hydrogen, oxygen, and other elements, including titanium. In 2007, driven by curiosity, Professor Bjorn Hauge of Østfold University College in Halden, Norway, decided to study the Hessdalen lights. Using a camera with a 30-second exposure, he captured a remarkable photo. Upon analyzing the image, Hauge claimed that the object seen in the sky was composed of silicon, steel, titanium, and scandium. By 2010, the number of sightings had significantly decreased to only 10 to 20 per year. Despite ongoing research, no consensus has been reached regarding the cause of the Hessdalen lights, leaving this strange phenomenon still unexplained. Victor Goddard, a commander in the Royal Air Force during World War I, experienced a tragic incident involving one of his air mechanics, Freddie Jackson. Jackson met a fatal end at the HM Naval Seaplane Training School, later known as HMS Daedalus, where Freddie accidentally walked into a rotating propeller and succumbed to his injuries. On the day of Freddie Jackson's funeral, the crew from HMS Daedalus posed for a group photograph. Upon reviewing the photo, they noticed a startling figure in the top row, Freddie Jackson himself. According to legend, Jackson had not yet realized he was dead and showed up for the photo out of habit. Adding to the eerie tale, one source claims that the photo was taken at the very site where Jackson met his untimely death. Well, there he was, and no mistake, although a little fainter than the rest. Indeed, he looked as though he was not altogether there, not really with the group, for he alone was capless, smiling. All the rest were serious and set and wearing service caps. Most had not long returned from church parade and marching in a military funeral. For Freddie Jackson had, upon that very spot, the squadron tarmac, 3 days before, walked heedlessly into the whirling propeller of an aeroplane. He had been killed stone dead instantly. He, evidently, was still quite unaware of it. Colonel Remy van Lierde was a distinguished Belgian pilot who served valiantly during World War II. He flew with both the Belgian and British Air Forces, successfully shooting down 6 enemy aircraft and 44 V-1 flying bombs, eventually achieving the rank of squadron leader in the RAF. By 1953, as lieutenant colonel, van Lierde had risen to the esteemed position of Deputy Chief of Staff to the Minister of Defense. In 1958, he etched his name in the annals of aviation history as one of the first Belgians to break the sound barrier while test flying a Hawker Hunter at a renowned aerodrome in England. He is celebrated as a hero of World War II and a flying ace. In 1959, now a full colonel, van Lierde commanded the air base at Kamina in the African Congo. During his tenure in the Katanga region of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, he experienced a remarkable encounter. While returning from a mission by helicopter, van Lierde spotted a giant Congo snake emerging from a hole in the dense forest below. He described the snake as being close to 25 feet in length, making it one of the largest snakes ever reported. Upon making the incredible discovery, Colonel Remy van Lierde turned his helicopter around and made several passes over the snake at a lower altitude, allowing another person on board to photograph the enormous creature. Van Lierde recounted that as he flew lower for a closer inspection, the snake rose up approximately 10 feet, giving the impression it would have attacked the helicopter if it had been within striking range. "I feel and I'm convinced if I had been in its range it would have struck at me," Colonel van Lierde confessed. According to his report, the snake's aggressive posture and impressive height as it reared up were clear signs of its potential threat. Despite the danger, van Lierde managed to get a good view of the snake's coloring, leading many to believe it could have been an anaconda. This extraordinary encounter added yet another astonishing chapter to the legendary career of Colonel Remy van Lierde. He later described the giant snake as having a dark shade of green and brown with a white-colored belly. Van Lierde claimed the snake's head was 3 feet wide, with jaws of a triangular shape, The colonel is considered a reliable eyewitness, and his testimony is highly convincing. His detailed depiction aligns closely with descriptions familiar to snake experts. Multiple experts and zoologists analyzed several of his photographs of the giant Congo snake and verified their authenticity. By conducting comparison analysis with the ground features around the snake, they confirmed the impressive size of the serpent. This extraordinary sighting by Colonel Remy van Lierde continues to intrigue and fascinate the scientific community. A disconcerting Polaroid of a seemingly handcuffed boy was discovered among the possessions of Elmer Wayne Henley, an accomplice of the notorious serial killer Dean Corll. Known as the Candyman, Corll tortured and murdered at least 28 young males between 1970 and 1973. The photo has become a focal point of investigation as authorities seek to determine if the child pictured could be Corll's elusive 29th victim. Filmmaker Josh Vargas, while researching the Candyman case for a movie, made the chilling discovery. He found the photograph among materials that Henley's mother had boxed up after her son's confession and had left untouched for 40 years. This haunting image has revived interest and speculation in the already infamous case of Dean Corll and his heinous crimes. According to Josh Vargas, while rummaging through those pictures, this Polaroid falls out. I take a look at it and, right off the bat, having studied the case and the crime scene photos and everything, I see Dean's toolbox, and I see his implements in that toolbox, and I see this kid right here with handcuffs on his arms. Vargas, determined to uncover the truth, took the photo to the police and then to Elmer Wayne Henley, who is serving a life sentence. Henley examined the photograph but claimed he didn't remember that specific child. However, he did reveal that other victims are still out there, yet to be identified. This haunting discovery adds another layer of intrigue and mystery to the horrific legacy of Dean Corll, suggesting there may be more victims who have yet to be brought to light. Welcome back to Fireside Unsolved. It's time to dive back into the murky depths of unexplained photographs. These aren't just ordinary pictures. They're windows into the unknown, portals to places where logic fails and fear takes over. From the tragic events of Bumblebee Road to the baffling case of spontaneous human combustion, we'll examine 5 more disturbing and mysterious images that continue to haunt our collective consciousness. Prepare to be unsettled as we unravel the mysteries hidden within these chilling photographs. Next, on episode 92, 5 Mysterious Photos That Cannot Be Explained, Part 2. In October 2003, 19-year-old Lisa Guerrieri and her 20-year-old boyfriend Brandon Rumbaugh, both residents of Scottsdale, Arizona, were closing in on their 1-year anniversary as a couple. To celebrate this anniversary, they decided on a camping trip under the stars, on October 17, 2003. Their chosen spot was a remote stretch of the Arizona desert off Interstate 17 near Bumblebee Road. Though the area is more popular now, it was a pretty desolate area back in 2003. Lisa's mother, Paula Guerrieri, remembers calling her daughter during their drive to where they planned to camp for the night. I called them to check on them. I had to ask her if she was there yet. She said, "No, we're not there yet, Mom. We got so many miles to go." I said, "Okay, just be careful." The following morning, alarm spread among Lisa and Brandon's friends and family when they failed to return. Commander Tom Bolts with the Yavapai County Sheriff's Office said, "Some friends of Brandon became alarmed when he didn't show up for work. They had conversations with them before, that Lisa and Brandon went up there. That, just vaguely, that they were going to go camping someplace that Brandon had camped with this group of friends before. And so they started driving up Interstate 17. I believed they went up all the way into Coconino County and drove around. They knew it was somewhere pretty close to the interstate, and so they would get off at an off-ramp, drive around. They didn't find them, and they kept doing that until they got down to Bumblebee Road. And then they saw the truck, and then went and found the 2 of them in the bed of the truck. When the friends reached the truck, they were greeted by a horrific scene. Inside the truck bed, still in their sleeping bags, lay the lifeless bodies of Brandon and Lisa. Investigators determined that both had been fatally shot with a .25 caliber handgun. They also determined the couple likely was asleep or preparing for sleep when the attack occurred. Commissioner Bolt said, "There's evidence that Lisa probably woke up at some point during the attack, but we can't say for sure right now." Missing from the campsite were 2 items belonging to Lisa: a camcorder she borrowed from her mom, and her keys. However, a broken disposable camera was found a short distance from the truck. Investigators believed it had been intentionally damaged to destroy any potential evidence. Despite this, they managed to develop several of the photos. While most were unremarkable, the final 3 images offered a haunting glimpse into the night of the murders. The first image depicted Lisa seated in the truck bed, her legs casually open and bent, a smile on her face. Yet Lisa's mother, Paula, feels that there is something profoundly unsettling about the picture. Paula insisted that her daughter's eyes held a silent distress signal. It was a maternal instinct, a gut feeling that her child was in peril, despite the outward appearance of happiness. The second photo featured Brandon in the same pose as Lisa, but his expression was starkly different. A neutral, almost vacant look held his gaze as he stared directly into the camera, his arms crossed defensively over his chest. The final photograph was the most perplexing. Taken from an unknown location, it captured a portion of a room, highlighting a hanging light fixture and a potted plant. The image held no immediate clues, but its existence raised more questions than answers. Had it been taken before or after the murders? If after, it implied the killer had taken the camera, used it, then returned to the crime scene to destroy it, which makes no sense. These images, far from providing closure, deepen the mystery surrounding the deaths of Lisa Guerrieri and Brandon Rumbaugh, and their murders remain unsolved. Yavapai Silent Witness, an anonymous tip line, is offering a $10,000 cash reward for information that leads to an arrest in this case. You can call 1-800-932-3232 or submit a tip anonymously at yavapaisw.com. Anyone with information, no matter how small it may seem, is urged to come forward. Perhaps your tip could be the key to bringing justice for Lisa and Brandon. On October 8, 2009, the Jamison family, Bobby, Sherilyn, and their 6-year-old daughter Madison, vanished while en route to a potential property purchase. The family from Eufaula, Oklahoma, was headed to a 40-acre plot of land near Red Oak, approximately 30 miles away. The circumstances surrounding the Jamison family's disappearance raised immediate suspicions. Their pickup truck was discovered abandoned in Latimer County, a short distance from Kinta, just days after they vanished. Inside the vehicle, authorities found the family's dog, Maisie, malnourished but alive. Also left behind were their identification, wallets, cell phones, a GPS device, and a surprisingly large sum of cash, approximately $32,000. Given the family's financial situation, the presence of such a substantial amount of money was perplexing. Surveillance footage from the Jamison home offered a chilling glimpse into the family's final hours. Recorded on the day of their disappearance, the video showed Bobby and Sherilyn making multiple silent trips between their house and truck as they meticulously prepared for their departure. Their movements were described as eerily trance-like by investigators. Over 4 years after their disappearance, a grim discovery brought a tragic end to the mystery. In November 2013, hunters stumbled upon skeletal remains in a remote area of Latimer County, just a few miles from where the Jamisons' truck had been abandoned. Forensic analysis would confirm the remains as those of Bobby, Sherilyn, and Madison Jamison. However, due to the advanced decomposition, determining a cause of death proved impossible. When police examined Bobby's phone from the truck, they found a final picture of Madison, taken up on the mountain. Friends and family contend that neither parent took the picture. In it, Madison appears withdrawn, with crossed arms and a gaze averted from the camera. They argue that her demeanor is unlike what would be expected if Bobby or Sherilyn were behind the lens. Whether or not her expression definitively points to foul play is open to interpretation. Nonetheless, the image has fueled intense speculation about the circumstances surrounding the family's disappearance and tragic fate. The case remains unsolved, and the haunting final image of Madison continues to be a central mystery in this tragedy. In the spring of 1988, Gregor Spurry, a Swiss nightclub owner with a somewhat unconventional spirit, left for a journey to Egypt. His destination was the Great Pyramid of Giza, where he hoped to uncover evidence of a mysterious biocosmic energy. Spurry's obsession led him to explore the pyramid's depths with relentless determination. He crawled through narrow shafts, bribed guards, and spent countless hours within the ancient tombs. His theory was as audacious as it was unconventional. A bottle of water placed atop the pyramid would explode, unleashed by the concentrated cosmic force within. Despite his conviction, the experiment yielded no results, obviously. As his Egyptian adventure neared its end, a serendipitous encounter awaited him. The bartender at his hotel, intrigued by Spurry's eccentric pursuits, offered a side quest. Intrigued, the Swiss adventurer agreed to the mysterious proposal. They arrived at a modest farm where Spurry met Najib, an elderly man with a mysterious aura about him. A descendant of a notorious family of grave robbers, Najib had amassed wealth through the illicit trade of ancient artifacts. Hidden among his collection was a treasure he had never parted with, an object shrouded in secrecy. Driven by financial hardship, he offered Spurry a unique opportunity to see, photograph, and briefly hold this strange item for a small fee of $300. With a mix of anticipation and trepidation, Spurry accepted. As Najib lifted the lid of a weathered wooden box, a musty scent filled the air. Carefully unwrapped layers of cloth revealed an extraordinarily strange object, a colossal, mummified human finger. Its appearance was both horrifying and fascinating. The monstrous finger was measured to be at least 13 3/4 inches long and 2.5 inches thick. The skin, leathery and cracked, bore the marks of time and decay. Beneath the surface, remnants of fungus and a loose nail hinted at the finger's incredible fragility. The implications were staggering. Such a digit belonged to a creature of immense size, with Gregor estimating 16 to 19 feet tall. Spurry's initial skepticism was gradually replaced by a growing sense of wonder and disbelief. To bolster his find, Najib produced a leather folder containing documentation. Among the papers were a certificate of authenticity, notes in Arabic and Latin, a Polaroid photo, and an X-ray from the 1960s. The X-ray confirmed the finger's authenticity, matching the grotesque specimen in Spurry's hands. Najib was adamant about the finger's significance to his family, refusing to sell it or reveal its origin. He only hinted at a hidden chamber beneath the Great Pyramid, a place of colossal empty tombs. Before leaving, Spurry captured the enormity of the find with photographs, using banknotes for scale. In the years that followed, Spurry maintained a guarded silence about his extraordinary encounter. The few times he dared to share his story, he was met with skepticism and dismissal, an indifference to the discovery rather than curiosity. All that remains of the finger is this photograph that Gregor Spurry took, back in 1988. The morning of July 2, 1951, unfolded as an ordinary day until Pansy Carpenter, the landlady of Mary Reeser, arrived at Reeser's apartment in St. Petersburg, Florida. As Pansy knocked on the door, she felt the apartment door was warm to the touch. A strange sensation immediately concerned her. Carpenter called the police, and when they arrived, what they found inside was a uniquely terrible scene. The picture, taken at the scene, shows Reeser's remains reduced to ashes, scattered among the remnants of a charred chair. Only a portion of her left foot, wearing a slipper, her backbone and her skull remained. Baffling to authorities was the state of Reeser's skull, described as shrunken to the size of a teacup. Plastic objects in the room had melted and warped under the intense heat. The bizarre circumstances surrounding Mary Reeser's death prompted a deeper investigation. St. Petersburg Police Chief J.R. Reichert sent crucial evidence, including glass fragments, potential teeth, a carpet section, and the surviving shoe, to J. Edgar Hoover at the FBI. The letter accompanying the evidence expressed the department's complete bewilderment, seeking any explanation for the extreme and localized destruction of the body. The FBI's conclusion was that Mary Reeser had fallen victim to something called the Wick effect. Their theory was that she had accidentally fallen asleep while smoking, and the burning paper and ashes ignited her nightclothes. The body fat acted as a fuel, leading to rapid and intense combustion. This explanation, while seemingly plausible, failed to account for the extraordinary level of destruction to Mary and the chair she sat on, while only limited damage to the surrounding environment occurred. The theory of spontaneous human combustion, while largely dismissed by the scientific community, persists as one of the only possible explanations for this strange tragedy. Despite the FBI's official stance, the case of Mary Reeser continues to captivate the public imagination over 70 years later. Our last photo is from the FBI. A young girl needs your help. The FBI is urgently searching for a man known only as John Doe 29. He may have critical information that could lead to the identification and rescue of a child victim of abuse. According to the FBI, John Doe 29 is a male between 30 and 45 years old. He has a tan complexion and dark hair that is not quite shoulder length. He wears a large ring on his left ring finger. In one photo, he appears to be outdoors with a young blonde-haired girl who is not being shown, but the background could be from anywhere in the world and is not of much help. It's important to remember that the FBI is not accusing John Doe 29 of committing abuse. They simply need his help to locate the victim and stop the abuse. And John Doe 29 may have information about the victim's location and the perpetrator. Locating John Doe 29 is crucial for stopping further abuse and bringing the perpetrator to justice. If you recognize John Doe 29 or have any information about his whereabouts, please contact the FBI immediately. Report tips to 1-800-CALL-FBI or visit www.fbi.gov. Every tip could be the missing piece that helps save this child. We know tonight's episode has been particularly heavy. Exploring these dark and disturbing cases is never easy, but we believe it's important to shed light on any and all mysteries and cases of the unexplained. We appreciate your continued support and trust in Fireside Unsolved. We'll be back with another episode soon, but until then, take care of yourselves and each other. Sweet dreams, you filthy bastards. Welcome back to Fireside Unsolved. In this episode, we're diving into another collection of unexplained and mysterious photographs. From shadowy figures lurking in the background to inexplicable phenomena captured at just the right or wrong moment, these photos defy logic and challenge our understanding of reality. Join us as we delve into the history behind these snapshots in time and analyze the theories and explanations that have been put forth as we invite you to form your own conclusions. Is there a hidden truth behind these images, or are they just a product of our imagination? Buckle up as we unravel the mysteries on Fireside Unsolved, Episode 98, 5 Mysterious Photos That Cannot Be Explained, Part 3. On March 22, 1959, in the town of Ipswich, Suffolk, England, Mrs. Mabel Chinnery and her husband embarked on their annual pilgrimage to pay their respects at the grave of her mother, Mrs. Ellen Hamill. As they arrived at the cemetery, Mr. Chinnery chose to stay in the car while his wife visited her mother's grave. Armed with a newly acquired camera, Mrs. Chinnery took several photographs of the gravestone, capturing the memory of her visit. After taking a few shots, she realized she had just one photo left. On her way back to the car, she decided to use this final shot to capture a candid picture of her husband, patiently waiting in the vehicle. When the photos were developed, one of Mrs. Chinnery's friends made a startling observation. Mrs. Hamill, Mabel's mother, seemed to be sitting in the back seat of the car. Startled, Mrs. Chinnery inspected the photograph more closely. The moment she recognized the figure, she broke down in tears. Her husband quickly moved to comfort her, but when he took a look at the photo himself, he saw the same chilling image. A clear figure in the back seat of the car. It was unmistakably Mrs. Hamill. Once Mrs. Chinnery regained her composure, she checked the photo again, making certain she saw what she thought she had seen. There was no doubt in her mind. The figure in the photograph was her mother. Ever since this photo was made public, it has faced intense scrutiny from skeptics. Many suggested that the figure in the image wasn't a ghost, but rather a case of pareidolia, a psychological phenomenon where the brain perceives familiar patterns, such as faces, in random objects, light, or shadows. The photograph gained wider attention in the United States after it was featured in the June 28, 1959 issue of the Sunday newspaper supplement, Parade. In the article, Mrs. Chinnery mentioned that the spot where the unexpected figure appeared in the back seat was where her mother always sat during their drives. The article also included a photo of Mrs. Hamill with the car before she passed away, showing her holding a pair of glasses that seemed to be worn by the figure in the ghostly image. At the time, an unnamed photo expert was quoted stating, "The lady in back can't be the result of a double exposure. If it were, the door's upright wouldn't block off part of her face, and she can't be a reflection in the window, either." Between 1917 and 1920, Swiss oil geologist Louis-François Fernand Hector Deloise and his team embarked on an expedition through the dense, mountainous forests of the Sierra de Perijá, near the Venezuela-Colombia border. Their mission, to search for oil along the River Tara and Rio Catatumbo. This remote and rugged region was not only challenging due to its terrain, but also because it was home to the formidable Motilone Indians, known for fiercely defending their lands. One day, while Deloise and his crew rested near the Tara River, deep in the jungle, they were startled by the sudden appearance of 2 large monkeys emerging from the woods. The creatures screamed, shook branches, and moved upright, holding onto bushes as they approached. Their aggression escalated as they broke off branches, waving them like weapons. When the monkeys began hurling excrement at the already exhausted and terrified men, Deloise and his crew, in a desperate act of self-defense, grabbed their guns and fired. The male monkey managed to escape despite being wounded, but the female was killed. Deloys and his men were stunned by the size of these creatures. They had never seen such large monkeys before. Determined to preserve what they could, Deloys kept the female's carcass. However, by the time he returned home, the only evidence he had left was a single photograph, tucked away in his travel notebook. Over time, the memory of this strange encounter faded, nearly forgotten amidst the many challenges of his expedition. Years later, while flipping through Deloys's notebook, French anthropologist Georges Montandon stumbled upon the mysterious photograph. Although he was well versed in the various monkey species known at the time, he had never encountered anything like the creature in Deloys's picture. The animal's size, reported by Deloys to be 4 feet, 5 inches tall, and its distinctive features, such as the absence of a tail and the presence of 32 teeth, set it apart. Montandon noted that these traits were strikingly similar to those of Old World anthropoids, leading him to speculate that the creature might be a human-like ape, potentially the only one native to the Americas. He considered it a possible missing link between apes and humans. In 1929, after much persuasion, Deloys agreed to share his story with the Illustrated London News. That same year, Montandon published his findings in the Journal de la Société des Americanistes, and later presented his conclusions to the French Academy of Sciences in Paris. Montandon was so convinced of the creature's significance that he proposed a new genus, Amaranthropoides, naming the species Loicy in honor of its discoverer. At a meeting of the French Academy of Sciences, Georges Montandon eagerly presented what he claimed to be groundbreaking evidence of an American ape, an unknown species that he believed was the New World counterpart to the African gorilla and the Asian orangutan. Deloys, under significant pressure from Montandon, also supported this controversial hypothesis. However, they faced intense scrutiny from naturalists and anthropologists at the Academy, who questioned their claims with suspicion. Critics raised several points about the photograph: the absence of a tail, the creature's set of only 32 teeth, and its spider-monkey-like face. They also noted the striking resemblance of the female's bottom half to that of a female spider monkey, further fueling their doubts. The skepticism culminated in heated debates, with many calling Montandon's hypothesis a potential fraud. As he struggled to provide convincing evidence, he resorted to anecdotes, citing stories from indigenous tribes about creatures like the Guayazi, the Didi, and the Vasitri, or Big Devil, believed to attack women. Despite his efforts, the criticisms persisted, casting a shadow of doubt over his claims. Over 6 years ago, a Reddit post surfaced that captured the unsettling discovery of one Redditor's friend. While cleaning a house, she encountered a framed photo that was deeply disturbing, a bizarre and macabre tribute to JonBenet Ramsey. The photo itself was unsettling, but it was the surrounding elements that truly sent chills down her spine. The frame was encircled by what appeared to be real teeth, meticulously arranged in a strange display. The horror of the find was compounded by the fact that neither the Redditor nor their friend lived anywhere near Colorado, where the tragic case of JonBenet Ramsey had unfolded. This added an extra layer of unease to the already chilling scene. The presence of such a grotesque tribute in an unrelated location suggested a disturbing fascination with the case, and the meticulous arrangement of the teeth around the photo only heightened the sense of dread. The discovery left her feeling profoundly unsettled. The combination of the eerie tribute and the inexplicable context of its location created a deeply disturbing experience, raising unsettling questions about the motivations behind such an odd display. This famous photograph captures a poignant moment. An elderly woman sitting comfortably in a chair, posing for the camera with a gentle expression. Standing directly behind her is an elderly man, his presence seemingly inconspicuous at first glance. However, the story behind this image adds a haunting and eerie dimension to the scene. The elderly woman had been suffering from dementia, a condition that often led her to speak aloud to her long-deceased husband. Her daughter, aiming to preserve a moment of clarity and connection, took a photograph of her mother. When the film was developed, the daughter was startled to find an unexpected and ghostly detail: the image of her deceased father, standing behind the woman, clearly visible in the photograph. The spectral figure of the man was unmistakable, and the eerie resemblance to the woman's late husband was striking. To further substantiate the chilling discovery, the daughter also shared a black and white photograph of her parents from their younger years. In this older image, the man's appearance bore a remarkable and unsettling similarity to the figure seen in the ghostly photograph, providing a stark confirmation of the spectral presence. This photograph not only captured a tender moment, but also an inexplicable connection between the living and the dead. The combination of the woman's dementia-driven conversations with her deceased husband and the ghostly figure in the photograph has left many pondering the mysteries of life, death, and the unknown realms that lie between. Tantallon Castle is a striking example of medieval architecture, located approximately 5 kilometers, about 3 miles east of North Berwick, in East Lothian, Scotland. Perched on a dramatic promontory overlooking the Firth of Forth and directly opposite the Bass Rock, this mid-14th century fortress commands a breathtaking view of the surrounding seascape. The fortress is designed with a single formidable wall blocking off the headland, while the remaining 3 sides are naturally fortified by steep sea cliffs, making it a formidable stronghold in its time. However, in recent history, the castle has been famous for a more haunting reason. The image, dubbed one of the world's most haunting pictures, shows a figure wearing a rough and centuries-old clothing can be seen peering from a ruined window at Tantallon Castle. It's known that no mannequins or costume guides are used within the castle, and experts have confirmed through analysis that there is no digital alterations at play. Psychologist Professor Richard Wiseman from the University of Hertfordshire, who studied the picture, said, "The figure appears to be in period costume, but we know 100% that Tantallon Castle does not use dummies or costume guides." The image remains a compelling mystery, intriguing both believers and skeptics alike. Whether these images offer a glimpse into the unknown or simply raise more questions than answers, one thing is certain. They remind us that the world is filled with mysteries waiting to be uncovered. If you enjoyed this journey into the unexplained, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and share it with fellow mystery enthusiasts. Don't forget to subscribe to Fireside Unsolved and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. We've got plenty more mysteries to explore, and we'd love for you to join us in uncovering the truth behind the world's most perplexing phenomena. And if you have any theories or thoughts about the photos we covered today, we'd love to hear from you in the comments below. So, keep questioning, keep exploring, and stay curious, and we'll see you next time. Fireside. There are photos that capture the beauty of life, fleeting moments that we don't want to forget. The memory becomes a frozen moment in time, tangible evidence we can point to when our memory deceives us. But every now and then, a photograph is taken that does more than just capture a memory. Some images instead capture something unsettling. In today's episode, we head back into the world of unexplained photographs for the 4th time, where 5 more mysterious photos defy logic and challenge our reality. Throughout history, experts have tried to offer logical solutions for what you're about to see, but some believe these photographs might hold the key to understanding the unknown, unsolved, and unexplained. Are they mere accidents of the camera lens, carefully crafted hoaxes, or evidence of forces beyond our comprehension? Sit back, grab your seat by the fire, and prepare for a journey into the unexplainable. Welcome back to Fireside Unsolved, Episode 109, 5 Mysterious Photos That Cannot Be Explained, Part 4. In 2008, a kayaking tourist made a discovery that would fascinate the imaginations of explorers, historians, and mystery enthusiasts. While paddling through the remote islands of Canada's Pacific Rim National Park Reserve, she stumbled on what appeared to be a face etched into a towering cliffside. Amazed, she snapped a few photos before making her way back to shore. But when she tried to retrace her route, its exact location slipped from her memory. Despite her best efforts and even the searches of others intrigued by her story, the mysterious face in the rocks remained elusive, until now. After 2 years of tireless searching, Hank Gus, a member of the Sechot First Nation, has finally rediscovered the face that once seemed lost to time. Hidden on Reeks Island, one of the Broken Group Islands in British Columbia, this remarkable natural formation stands an impressive 7 feet tall, according to reports from ABC News. Gus observed that the face bears an uncanny resemblance to a wooden carving that adorns the door of the Seshat administration office, a striking connection to the rich cultural heritage of his people. "It's pretty noticeable from the water. It's quite large," Gus told CTV News. "But it's high up on the cliff, and the surrounding rocky terrain makes it really difficult to access. The dangerous landscape has likely contributed to why it remained hidden for so long." The Broken Group Islands are part of the ancestral lands of the Seshat First Nation, a place their people have called home for thousands of years. Hank Gus, a Seshat beachkeeper, dedicates his time to educating visitors about the area's rich history and geography. Ever since he first heard the tourist's tale of the mysterious face, Gus made it his personal mission to find it. And now, after years of searching, it has finally been located. With the discovery in hand, the Seshat First Nation is collaborating with Parks Canada to investigate its origins. Mother Nature can create some remarkable things, and this face is no exception, remarked Matthew Payne, Parks Canada's First Nations program manager, in an interview with ABC News. "We still can't say for certain whether the face was carved by human hands or if it's a natural formation. Given the deep connection that Seshat people have to this land, attention has now turned to exploring possible links to local oral traditions. The Seshat have lived here for millennia, so we're working closely with them to see if any stories or histories might shed light on the face's origins," Payne added. Whether a natural wonder or a man-made artifact, this rediscovered face stands as a powerful symbol of the mysteries that lie hidden in the wilderness, waiting to be uncovered. In 1872, American photographer William Mumler captured what is now famously known as the Ghost of Abraham Lincoln photograph. In the eerie image, a faint, ghostly figure appears to be standing over seated Mary Todd Lincoln, widow of the late president. Many who saw the photo believed the spectral figure to be none other than Abraham Lincoln himself. Mumler was no stranger to spirit photography, having pioneered the genre a decade earlier in 1862. His methods puzzled even fellow photographers like J.W. Black, who closely observed Mumler's process, yet could not explain how the ghostly figures appeared in his images. Despite growing skepticism, Mumler's career thrived, especially during the American Civil War, when the immense loss of over 600,000 lives fueled a widespread desire for spiritualism, as grieving families sought solace in the idea that their loved ones could still be seen through the lens of spirit photography. Throughout the 1860s, William Mumler was repeatedly accused of fraud, with the allegations culminating in a highly publicized trial in May 1869. The prosecution proposed several possible ways Mumler might have faked his ghostly images, including the use of double exposure. Yet despite their efforts, none of these techniques could be conclusively proven, leading to Mumler's eventual acquittal. While historian Mark Osterman later demonstrated a similar effect using two negatives and sleight of hand, the exact method behind Mumler's haunting photographs remains a mystery to this day. In February 1872, Mary Todd Lincoln, still in deep mourning nearly 7 years after her husband's tragic assassination, sat for a session with Mumler. After Lincoln's death, Mary's life had been marked by immense grief and personal struggles, including her institutionalization for mental health issues in 1875. She was eventually released into the care of her sister. Today, the infamous Ghost of Abraham Lincoln photograph is housed at the Ian Rowland Center for Lincoln Research, part of the Friends of the Lincoln collection at the Allen County Public Library in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Though the image has been widely debunked as a hoax, it remains one of the most iconic examples of 19th century spirit photography, a captivating artifact from an era where the lines between reality, grief, and the supernatural often blurred. In early 2015, Daylen Pua, a bright and friendly teenager from South Kona on Hawaii's Big Island, had big dreams of becoming a pastry chef. A senior at Kekula o Ehunui Kai Malino, a Hawaiian immersion school in Kealakekua, Daylen, affectionately known as Moke, was preparing to apply to culinary school after graduation. An avid outdoorsman, he frequently swam, hiked, and shared his adventures on social media. That February, while staying with his grandmother Martha Bear in Waianae for the weekend, Daylen set his sights on a notorious challenge, the Haiku Stairs, also known as the Stairway to Heaven. This iconic but illegal trail, with 3,922 steps winding up a steep ridge, had been officially closed for decades, yet still lured adventurers from all over the world. Originally built in 1942 by the U.S. Navy to support a radio station in Haiku Valley during World War II, The stairs gained popularity in the 1970s, thanks to a feature on Magnum PI, drawing curious hikers despite the trail's closure in 1987 due to safety concerns. Sections had deteriorated over time, making the climb even more treacherous. On February 26, 2015, Dalen told his grandmother he planned to hike in Moanalua Valley Park. When he mentioned the haiku stairs, she warned him about the dangers, especially after recent storms had washed out parts of the trail. But determined to experience the famed steps, Dalen packed his red backpack and set off. By late morning, Dalen had begun his ascent, posting updates and photos of his journey on social media. He sent several images directly to his family as well. But when he didn't return that evening, his grandmother's concern turned to fear. Knowing he had attempted the dangerous haiku stairs, she immediately contacted authorities. A massive search began the next morning with rescue teams from the Honolulu Fire Department, U.S. Navy, and volunteers combing the rugged terrain with drones, helicopters, and tracker dogs. But heavy rains and treacherous conditions hampered their efforts, making it impossible to reach the location where Dalen last shared his photos. The dogs struggled to pick up a scent, and visibility was limited. On March 2nd, a few days into the search, hikers on the haiku stairs reported hearing cries for help from below the trail, raising hopes that Dalen might still be alive. However, thick clouds and dangerous terrain prevented rescuers from locating the source of the calls. Despite the extensive search, which officially ended on March 3rd, Dalen was never found. His family, refusing to give up, continued searching for 2 more days with the help of volunteers. But the harsh, unforgiving conditions made it clear how perilous the trail had become, even for experienced hikers. No trace of Dalen, his body, phone, or backpack, was discovered. In the days following his disappearance, Dalen's family revisited the photos he had sent during his hike. In one haunting image, a man appeared crouched in the background, raising concerns that Dalen may have been followed and possibly harmed. The Honolulu Police Department took this discovery seriously, launching an investigation and issuing an alert to the public for help identifying the man. Although a Reddit user later claimed the man was a friend who had already spoken to the police, this was never officially verified. Authorities ultimately stated that they did not believe foul play was involved. The prevailing theory is that Dalen slipped and fell off the unstable trail, as many parts had become dangerously eroded. There were unconfirmed reports of a light seen on the mountainside the night after his disappearance, possibly from his iPhone's flashlight, though night hiking was common in the area, and the sighting couldn't be definitively linked to him. Nearly a decade later, the mystery of Dalen Pua's disappearance remains unsolved. His body and belongings were never recovered, leaving his family with more questions than answers. The haiku stairs, still closed to the public, stand as both a symbol of Hawaii's natural beauty and a reminder of the tragic risks that come with chasing adventure. For Dalen's loved ones, the hope for closure endures, as they hold tight to the memory of the kind, adventurous young man who set out to conquer the stairway to heaven, but never returned. In the early 20th century, a mysterious figure known as Little Oscar became a fixture of the lore surrounding the Beta Theta chapter of the Delta Tau Delta fraternity at the University of the South. Little Oscar undeniably existed, as photographic evidence attests. One of the most famous images of the mummy was even featured in the October 1940 issue of Life magazine, granting it an eerie kind of fame. Little Oscar, described as approximately 3 feet tall and curled in a fetal position, had skin that appeared cracked, brittle, and rough, resembling something baked and molded. His unsettling appearance added to the intrigue, sparking rumors about his origins. Was this truly an ancient mummified body, or had fraternity students created something far more sinister? Dr. David Hurst, curator of the American Museum of Natural History's Mummies exhibit, may have provided the key to unraveling the mystery. After inspecting photographs of Little Oscar, Hurst suggested that the mummy was not real, but rather an elaborate creation, likely crafted by fraternity students using papier-mâché and other materials. The cracks and texture of the skin, Hurst pointed out, were consistent with artistic crafting rather than authentic mummification. The last known reference to Little Oscar dates to 1952, after which he mysteriously vanished. The prevailing theory is that college students may have stolen the mummy as part of a prank, but its fate remains unknown. To this day, the whereabouts of Little Oscar are lost to history, leaving behind only photographs and a peculiar chapter in the university's strange and fascinating lore. The mysterious death of Janet Johnson, a Denver woman who vanished nearly 50 years ago on Aconcagua, the tallest peak in the Western Hemisphere, has resurfaced following a climber's startling discovery. Her long-lost camera, preserved in a receding glacier. This camera, embossed with her name and Denver address, was found in February 2020 on the Polish glacier near the summit of the 22,831-foot-tall Argentine mountain. Johnson's disappearance in 1973, alongside NASA engineer John Cooper, captivated the world, and many speculate that their deaths, officially marked as accidents, may involve foul play. The camera, along with a collection of her belongings, including a decomposed arm, a watch, down mittens, a red jacket, and a canister of Kodak film, was recovered from the glacier. Remarkably well preserved, the film was passed to the New York Times, which published the haunting images as part of a renewed investigation. The collection includes 24 images from the camera and 36 more in the canister, all offering a chilling glimpse into the expedition's final days. The photos document the climbing crew's progression up the mountain, including 3 frames captured the night before Johnson's tragic death. The clarity and composition of the images suggest that Johnson was not suffering from the severe effects of altitude sickness, which commonly impair coordination and judgment. In 1973, an 8-person American expedition aimed to summit Aconcagua, the highest mountain outside the Himalayas. Janet Johnson, a highly experienced climber and one of the first 20 women to conquer all of Colorado's 14,000-foot peaks, was part of the group. However, the climb quickly descended into chaos due to personality conflicts, illness, and varying ability levels, ultimately leading to only 4 team members making a summit attempt. Johnson and Cooper, who had contributed to guiding NASA's lunar module for the Apollo missions, perished just above the high camp under suspicious circumstances. Contradictory accounts from Johnson's colleagues fueled speculation, with some claiming she had fallen down the glacier, leading to her death. Yet when her body was recovered in 1975, investigators found her with a battered face, bloodstains on her jacket, and a large rock placed on her body in the middle of an ice field, details inconsistent with a simple fall. Her arm, left in the ice during recovery, was only found decades later alongside her camera. Cooper's death was equally perplexing. He was discovered frozen on the mountainside during his descent, with an autopsy revealing a mysterious round hole in his abdomen that pierced his spine, an injury that raised doubts about the initial speculation that he had simply fallen onto his ice axe. The unsettling nature of their injuries reignited theories of foul play. Daniel Araujo, an assistant to the medical examiner who performed the autopsies, stated, "They were killed, both of them. These kinds of injuries were not self-inflicted." The possibility of murder, rather than tragic accident, has gained traction with these recent discoveries. However, John Shelton, the last surviving member of the expedition, dismissed the foul play claims as hogwash. The newly recovered photographs offer fresh glimpses into the ill-fated expedition, intensifying the mystery surrounding Johnson and Cooper's deaths. Nearly 5 decades later, the question of what truly happened on Aconcagua remains unsolved, leaving behind more questions than answers. As we wrap up this 4th installment of our exploration into 5 mysterious photos that defy easy explanation, we hope that these photographs in this episode have sparked your curiosity and left you pondering what could be hidden within them. Each photograph carries with it a story, a question, and a sense of intrigue that reminds us of the mysteries still lurking in the shadows of our world. Which photo left the biggest impression on you? We invite you to share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Fireside Unsolved, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on our latest explorations. Join us next time as we continue to unravel more of the mysterious and unexplained throughout our world and history. Thank you for watching, and remember to stay safe. We'll see you next time. Fireside.
On this series, we've explored some of the world's most mysterious photographs, and this episode is no different. Today, we will look at 5 more photos that defy logic and promise to haunt the imagination. Starting with the mysterious origins of the first man ever captured on film, we'll trace our way through the unexplained, like the unsettling image of a man with an axe on a boat, and the legend of the mummy rumored to be John Wilkes Booth. Then, we'll look into a haunting sketch of the elusive killer known as Mr. Cruel, before closing on the baffling Naga Fireballs, an unexplained phenomenon that lights up the Mekong River. Each photo holds secrets, clues, and questions that remain unsolved to this day. Let's dive in and see where these photos take us on episode 117, 5 Mysterious Photos That Cannot Be Explained, Part 5. In 1838, along the bustling Boulevard du Temple in Paris, an anonymous man paused for a quiet moment to get his shoes shined. Little did he know that this simple, unremarkable act would forever immortalize him in history. Captured by Louis Daguerre in the earliest known photograph to feature a human figure, this man, whose name and story we'll likely never know, stands out as a clear silhouette against the background of a Parisian street. He's forever frozen in time, an ordinary passerby who by chance became a part of something extraordinary. To be included in this image, he had to hold perfectly still for nearly 7 minutes, the duration necessary for Daguerre's innovative process to record and develop the photograph. Meanwhile, others in the scene moved too quickly to be fully recorded in the exposure. The shoeshine boy who worked at his feet is only a faint blur, and the bustling street behind them, filled with carriages, people, and the daily activity of Paris, is mostly lost to the motion of the subjects. However, closer inspection of the photo reveals hints of some that remain: an impression of a child's face in a distant window, what might be a dog across the street, and perhaps even a faint outline of 2 women and a cart. But it's this man that's standing calmly with one foot propped on the shoeshine kit, who has unknowingly become a focal point in this landmark image. Who was he? Maybe he was on his way to work, possibly wasting time before meeting a friend, or simply enjoying a stroll. When you can come to terms with never knowing who he was, his intentions, his thoughts, or his life story, he becomes more than just a figure in a photograph. He's a connection to a world long gone, a witness to the birth of photography itself. It started with a seemingly ordinary job, a dock worker snapping photos of an old military frigate set for decommissioning. But what he captured has left people questioning what, or who, might still linger on board. The man who shared the eerie image described how the vessel had been stripped of its sensitive equipment and left open for dock workers to prepare for scrap. The foreman, a man by the name of John, was the first to board, documenting areas with a camera as he moved through the ship's dark, hollowed corridors. Later, John sent the photos to his boss, but one of them raised immediate alarm. His boss called John asking, "Who's the guy with the axe in the photo?" Confused, John explained that he hadn't seen anyone else on board, and with only one secured entry point, a gangway watched by CCTV, no one else should have been there. Due to the vessel's military history, the police were called to investigate. They combed the ship from end to end but found no trace of any intruder. There was no evidence of forced entry or any sign of a stowaway, and CCTV showed no movement on or off the vessel. Curiosity took hold online, where users examined the photo. After users began editing the photo to get a better look at what was hiding in the shadows, they revealed a haunting figure, seemingly clutching an axe, appearing to be looking around a corner. The mysterious figure has left an impression with those that have seen the photo. It's a good reminder that even the most deserted places might not be empty after all. In 1877, Texas lawyer Finis L. Bates was called to the bedside of a dying man by the name of John St. Helen, who whispered a shocking confession: "I am John Wilkes Booth, the assassin of President Lincoln." St. Helen claimed he had escaped the manhunt after Lincoln's assassination, asserting that the man who died in a Virginia tobacco barn was not Booth, but someone else. Bates kept St. Helen's confession private until 25 years later, when a headline in a Memphis newspaper caught his attention. A drifter named David E. George had been found dead in an Oklahoma hotel room after taking arsenic, claiming to be John Wilkes Booth as his last words. Bates recognized George from a photograph. It was John St. Helen. Intrigued, Bates traveled to Oklahoma to find George's embalmed body displayed in a mortuary. Convinced it could be Booth, Bates published a book in 1907 detailing St. Helen's account and gained custody of the body, which he leased to carnivals as the mummy of John Wilkes Booth. This bizarre attraction was plagued with misfortune. Showmen exhibiting the mummy faced financial ruin, and in 1920, a circus train carrying it wrecked, killing 8 people. At one point in time, the mummy was even kidnapped for ransom, and Union veterans threatened to steal it, vowing to kill Booth again. After Bates died, his widow sold the mummy to showman William Evans, who displayed it with a sign proclaiming, "See the man who murdered Lincoln." Despite efforts to revive its tours, Evans faced fines for teaching false history. In 1930, carnival owner John Harkin purchased the mummy, offering $1,000 to anyone who could prove it wasn't Booth. No one collected, but skeptics remained. A group of doctors examined the mummy in 1931, claiming it bore injuries consistent with Booth's. By the late 1970s, it disappeared, possibly into a private collection. The mystery of Booth's death persists, with some family members advocating for exhuming his grave for DNA testing, requests denied by the courts, leaving the story of the mummy as one of America's strangest unsolved tales. In the shadows of Melbourne during the late 1980s and early 1990s, a figure known only as Mr. Cruel instilled terror in the community. This moniker, originating from a newspaper headline from The Sun, embodies the chilling nature of his crimes. Mr. Cruel is linked to the attacks on 3 young girls and is the prime suspect in the abduction and murder of a 4th victim, Carmine Chan, in 1991. Despite extensive investigations, he remains unidentified, leaving the cases surrounding his confirmed attacks and suspected murder unsolved. Authorities have offered a reward of 200,000 Australian dollars for information about the abductions, increased to 1 million Australian dollars in 2016, equivalent to approximately $130,000 and $657,000 US respectively. Described as highly intelligent, Mr. Cruel meticulously planned each attack, conducting surveillance on his victims and their families while leaving no forensic traces. He covered his face, used clever tactics to divert attention, and exhibited a disarming demeanor, often taking breaks to eat during the assaults. However, the police sketch is a terrifying image created from descriptions provided by his victims. The terror began on August 22, 1987, in Lower Plenty, where he broke into a home, armed with a knife and handgun, and tied up the parents, leaving their young daughter vulnerable. On December 27, 1988, in Ringwood, he abducted a 10-year-old girl after binding her parents, releasing her 18 hours later. The third confirmed attack occurred on July 3, 1990, in Canterbury, where he subjected a 13-year-old girl to a 50-hour ordeal before releasing her. Investigators believe Mr. Cruel may have recorded his crimes, victims described being leashed to a bed, and some noted hearing planes during their captivity, leading police to theorize that the house may have been near a flight path to Melbourne Airport. In May 1991, the Spectrum Task Force was established to apprehend Mr. Cruel, conducting extensive searches and interviews and spending 3.8 million Australian dollars, or 2.5 million US. Despite their efforts, by January 1994, the task force was disbanded, leaving this unforgettable police sketch of Mr. Cruel as a chilling reminder of the crimes that the community still deals with to this day. Each year, the Mekong River becomes the stage for a captivating phenomenon known as the Naga Fireballs. These glowing orbs, sometimes called Mekong lights, are said to rise naturally from the river's depths, enchanting both locals and visitors. Described as reddish and varying in size, from tiny sparkles to basketballs, the fireballs soar hundreds of meters into the night sky before vanishing. Reports indicate that anywhere from a few dozen to several thousand fireballs can be seen in a single night, typically around Wan Ok Phansa, marking the end of Buddhist Lent in late October. Most frequently observed in a 250-kilometer stretch of the Mekong River near Phon Phisai, Naga fireballs have also been spotted rising from smaller rivers and lakes in the region. Until the mid-1980s, locals referred to these lights as ghost lights, but the official renaming to Phaya Nak lights added cultural significance to the event. Despite their allure, skeptics have emerged. A 2002 documentary revealed that Lao soldiers fired tracer rounds into the sky during the festival. Skeptic Brian Dunning argued that it would be difficult for spectators across the river to hear the gunshots in time to react to the lights, suggesting flare guns could explain the phenomenon. This theory gained traction when Thai biologist Jasada Denduang Boripant analyzed footage and reached a similar conclusion. Scientific explanations have also been proposed. One theory suggests the fireballs result from flammable phosphine gas generated in the marshy environment. Another hypothesis proposes that they are free-floating plasma orbs created by surface electricity discharges. As the Naga fireballs continue to mystify, they remain a cherished part of local folklore, embodying the intersection of culture, belief, and the allure of the unknown. Whether seen as supernatural or scientifically explainable, they leave a lasting impression on those who witness them with their own eyes. As we wrap up Part 5 of our series of mysterious photos that cannot be explained, we've looked through some of the most puzzling images that continue to intrigue and confound us. From the anonymous figure in the first photograph ever captured to the chilling police sketch of Mr. Cruel, each of these photos tells a story filled with mystery. Each of these images invites us to explore the stories they hold and the questions they leave unanswered. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Fireside Unsolved. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to help the channel grow. Until next time, take it easy and be easy, you filthy bastards.